Who benefits the most from Rob Gronkowski's retirement? That and much more coming up on tonight's episode of the Mailbag Show. But that is the hot topic right now. Victoria, start us off. Who benefits from Rob Gronkowski retiring in Tampa Bay? You were looking down, but I was air quoting there because I'm not buying it.
Yeah, I know. I've been seeing that a lot lately on Twitter, especially after, Brady, and he did it before. So I don't know. I thought I couldn't love every Bucks player for fantasy this year more besides Godwin. And then this Gronk news dropped. I'm trying to snag Mike Evans in as many drafts as I can right now, even before the Gronk news. I like to start out the season strong if I can. Not saying that affects every single pick I'm making in redraft in terms of grabbing guys like Evans or Hollywood Brown, who on paper, those guys both have a great situation to start the season. Hopkins gone in Arizona, obviously. Gronk gone and Godwin out for the Bucks here for Evans. They're in line for a large target share. But, of course, that's going to influence me a little bit, just like we pick up, certain defenses that have a great start to the season, so we think. So with Evans, 14 touchdowns in 2021, of course, there's going to be some regression likely. But with these influx of targets coming his way, I really don't care. With Godwin working his way back from that ACL injury, he suffered that in week 15 to remind us really, really late. And now with Gronk retiring, more targets to go around. Tom Brady's favorite red zone target is Mike Evans. Currently on Footballguys ADP, he's wide receiver 9 overall. I'd 1,000% be taking him over someone like Tyreek Hill, Deebo Samuel. Both those guys are going before Mike Evans right now. I love Fournette even more. Dave, your love for Fournette is just like mine. I'm obsessed with him. And Russell Gage is looking even more appealing right now, of course. Footballguys ADP shows Lenny at running back 11 and wide receiver 45 for Russell Gage. I'd take Fournette over guys like, I think Mixon's going before him, Kamara, Chubb. Those guys all, I think, are going before Fournette now. And I actually was thinking about this earlier. If you guys were looking this dead in the face, would you take Fournette over Dalvin Cook?
No.
If you're looking at them both on the board.
That's tough. Yeah, Dalvin Cook is one that, I'm much higher on him than the consensus as well. I'm a Leonard Fournette fanboy, but Dalvin Cook, a lot of people have pointed it out, but he had a ridiculously low touchdown rate last year, at least by his standards. Like half of what he's done.
Don't get me started on Dalvin. He oh my God, don't get me started on Dalvin Cook and his touchdown. He should have
he's a monster in the screen game. Yeah, he's a monster in the screen game. He's one of the best rushers out there, playing indoors, a likely improved offense with a new head coach there. There's a lot to get excited about with Dalvin Cook. So Fournette is my RB5 and Dalvin Cook is my RB4. So that's where I'm drawing the line is that Dalvin Cook.
Yeah.
Okay. So, in terms of the question, they're in the same tier to me. I guess I'll go Dalvin, but I'll go Dalvin last. But for this question, I think you said it really well, Victoria. Mike Evans. I feel like last year, the 2 touchdown scorers, it felt either Mike Evans or Gronk. Those are the guys that were scoring touchdowns for the Bucks. And so I feel like just those touchdowns are going to go there. And people were talking about Mike Evans' regression. I don't see a regression coming for him. Look, everything is set up perfectly, right, for him. Godwin, he's going to be missing a few games. Yes, they got Russell Gage now, but let's be honest. Mike Evans should be getting like a 25% target share, at least until Godwin gets back, right? It's just he's going to eat. You should have been targeting him even before this Gronk news, but yeah, I'm absolutely loving him. And I feel like he's always one of those wide receivers that nobody wants or people want less than other guys, right? I don't know if it's because of his age. I don't know what it is about Mike Evans, but he doesn't always get the respect that he deserves. So, yeah, Mike Evans, give it to me all day.
Now, I haven't been a Mike Evans hater per se, but he's somebody that I just felt like was always getting drafted every single year higher than I was willing to take him. Everybody was always looking at him at that, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2 cusp. And the problem I had with Mike Evans was a lack of ceiling. He's never been a guy that's going to get 160, 170 targets. We know that he's going to catch a lot of balls and he's going to score some touchdowns, but he's very boomer bust. And I just never liked paying up for him. This is the one year where I'm finally on board. Like if I'm sitting there in like the early to mid second and Mike Evans is on the board, I'm taking Mike Evans there. So I'm a little bit nervous because it's always been lack of ceiling with him. But now looking at Rob Gronkowski being gone, Chris Godwin being injured, no disrespect to Russell Gage, but he's just not a great football player. I mean, he looked good last year, but last year he was dealing with, Olamide Zaccheaus and, Cordero Patterson were his main competition for targets. Obviously, Kyle Pitts tight end as well. But this is a year where I think that the stage is set for Evans to finally hit his ceiling. And, it's not often that we see just one really talented pass catcher with Tom Brady. But, we saw it with Randy Moss way back in the day. And I'm not saying that Mike Evans is Randy Moss, but I mean, what was it, 21, 22 touchdowns or something like that? I mean, he just hyper targeted Randy Moss that entire season. And looking at the makeup of this Tampa Bay team, it's very likely that Mike Evans gets a similar target share. So I think Evans is obviously the biggest beneficiary here. But like we have all talked about as well, Leonard Fournette, he's just going to get a ton of touches this year. So all in on that.
But what about Rashod White?
Yeah, well, if Rashod White can pick up his pass blocking, and that's the main problem that I have. I just wrote a big, long article on Leonard Fournette, and that's my knock against Rashod White. He is a fantastic pass catcher. But if you look at what, kept Leonard Fournette on the field last year, it was his improved pass blocking. He had more pass blocking opportunities than any other running back in Tampa Bay and allowed 0 sacks. And when you're protecting Tom Brady, that means a lot, especially at this point in his career. If you are keeping Tom Brady from getting hit, you're going to stay on the field. And that's why I think that Leonard Fournette just got this locked down. He's not going to be leaving the field this year. But anyway, I want to thank everyone for tuning into another episode of the Football Guys Mailbag Show. We got a ton of questions in on Rob Gronkowski and Cameron Brate and just how this Buccaneers offense is going to look. So we'll start off the show with some of those. Before we do that, though, I want to introduce my co-host here, Victoria, up in the top right. Let everyone know where they can find you on Twitter, what you're working on this offseason, any articles that might be coming out, or anything else you want to share with us.
Yes, you can find me at FFB_Victoria on Twitter and Instagram. Goodness, I am so happy it is almost July. We are just ramping up all content here at Football Guys. My rankings are going to be up very, very shortly for redraft. I'm so excited. We're so close to redraft season. I just want to punt dynasty season right over there. We're almost there. And best ball. Goodness, best ball's heating up. I love that. Dave, I'm not putting out a bunch of articles right now, but in season, look out for start sit article for Football Guys on a weekly basis. I cannot wait for that.
Be sure to check that out. Absolutely. And then Troy down at the bottom of the screen. You obviously know Troy, but go ahead. Let everyone know what you're working on. What you got going on right now, Troy?
What's up, guys? It's your boy Troy. You can find me at T King Mode pretty much on all social media platforms. You can find me here with my friends every Wednesday, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, if you didn't know. I'm also going to be, contributing to some collab articles and doing some other things for Football Guys this season. I'm very excited. I'm not going to punt Dynasty like Victoria is punting it, but I am very excited about redraft. And look, I need to get into more best ball. Right? I've been doing some best ball drafts, but y'all got some best ball drafts out there. Yo, invite me, man. I need to get my practice in for best ball. So make sure to invite me. But I'm very excited. A lot of good things coming with Football Guys this season.
Hey, man, you're asking the right guy if you're looking to get in some best ball drafts. And, I got to at least plug the show that James Brimacone and I just fired off yesterday. It was so much fun to record. We are now doing the Football Guys Best Ball Show, sponsored and powered by Underdog. So check that out on the Football Guys YouTube page if you have not already. But speaking of best ball, be sure to sign up for Underdog Fantasy if you haven't already. This year, they have upped their prize pool in the Best Ball Mania contest to $10 million. In addition to their best ball tournaments, they've got these sit and go best ball drafts that are a ton of fun. You just draft, let it ride out for the season, and then the winner of that league wins the money. Entry costs on that are as low as $3. We all know that the best part about fantasy football is drafting, and at Underdog, that's all you have to do. In best ball scoring, you draft the team, and that's it. Underdog will score the optimal lineup for you every single week in season. And in addition to these best ball leagues, you can play their pick'em games for NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, PGA, and more. They've got over-unders. They've got rivals for tonight's matchups, where you can win up to 20 times your money in a single night. Some regional restrictions apply, and that's kind of the tricky thing with Underdog. But download the app, try it out, sign up for Underdog today with promo code FootballGuys, and you will get a 100% deposit match up to $100. I know you guys are both playing Underdog. I am a junkie. I think I've already got over 100 completed for the offseason and many, many more to come. But anyway, let's go ahead and jump right in with the next question here from Joey Wright saying, how big of a slip and slide will Rob Gronkowski be purchasing for his retirement party? Also, How high does his retirement move Cameron Brate and Russell Gage in your rankings? So we talked about this just a little bit, not the slip and slide, but we talked a little bit about Gage and Brate. But Troy, go ahead and start us off here. How big is a slip and slide? Cameron Brate and Russell Gage, how do they get moved in your rankings?
The slip and slide is going to be enormous. I will just say that. Slip and slide is going to be enormous. But in terms of how much so Cameron Brate, the hand gestures. Oh, wow. I'm glad. Look, I'm going to make it a thing, Joey. I'm going to make it a thing. But you were talking about the hand gestures. So Cameron Brate, I think that he's getting a little overhyped because people have to be reminded that Cameron Brate is not good at football, right? He's not good at football, but he is in a very advantageous situation, right? It's him and Cade Otton, the rookie that they just signed, right? Those are the only really relevant tight ends. So I guess based off of just availability and the fact he's going to be on the field, he moves up a little bit in my rankings. I would say that maybe if I had to rank him, I say he's probably going to be tight end 14, 15 for me, something around there. I'm just not extremely excited. There's a lot of other tight ends that I prefer over Brate. Russell Gage, he doesn't move that much for me. I mean, I guess he moves a tick up, right? But I feel like Russell Gage is going to be good until Godwin comes, right? Once Godwin's healthy, I feel like Gage, he's going to get his, here and there, but he's not going to be reliable. But he is somebody that I would like for best ball underdog. but yeah, besides that, I'm moving up a little bit, but I'm not getting crazy with pushing them up. I don't want to overreact to the news.
So I just want to, it seems like, everybody's saying like everybody's overreacted to Cameron Brate. And I think what happens is, a handful of people out on Twitter say like, oh, it's Cameron Brate, tight end 1 season. And then everyone gets fired up and thinks that that's how everybody feels. So I threw a little heat check out there today where I did a thread of polls saying, would you prefer this tight end or Cameron Brate? And here are the guys that Cameron Brate lost to in the polls. Cole Kmet, Robert Tonyan, Albert Okwuegbunam, Hunter Henry, David Njoku, Tyler Higbee, Gerald Everett, Noah Fant, and Evan Ingram. So really when we're looking at it with all of those guys down there, Cameron Brate is realistically falling into the consensus ranking of like tight end 23, tight end 24. So, I mean, even in 2 tight end leagues, this guy's hardly rosterable. So, I think people get too carried away with a handful of hype tweets on Twitter and think that that's what public perception is. Really, I think that most people are viewing Brate where he belongs, kind of at the back end tight end 2 range.
Hopefully,
yeah. But then again, we see some people sharing screenshots on Underdog where Cameron Brate's getting drafted in the 8th round. So there's always somebody out there. But Vic, how do you feel about this?
How I feel about what you just said is disgusting. But outside of that, I'm with you guys. I'm not moving Brate very much, if at all. I think we've already kind of hit on the fact that I think talent soaks up the most targets in a situation like this, and they're not all going to necessarily just funnel to Brate because a tight end is the position that left. Of course, I already said Gage is moving up for me. I think I'd move Gage up into the high 30s. I think I looked earlier at Footballguys ADP consensus was wide receiver 45 right now, which I think is a great value for Gage, especially what you're going to get out of him for the beginning of the season without Godwin. So he's moving into the high 30s for me in the wide receiver range. I was looking earlier, like Renfro's still going before Gage, Brandon Ayuk, Robert Woods, DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, these are close, but I like Gage for that upside you can use him for the beginning of the season. But yes, what we're all consensus saying here is do not overreact to the Gronk news and just take Cameron Brate everywhere. Please do not do that.
Yeah, I mean, surely nobody thinks that Cameron Brate is actually a tight end. That's just ridiculous. Next question comes in from Jeff Bell saying, can Cameron Brate be a tight end 1? Should we all just boo and thumbs down Jeff? I'm not even entertaining this question. This is clearly a joke from Jeff. On to the next question here. Are Sutton Truthers going to be satisfied when he doubles his fantasy points per game from week 9 to 18 in 2021 to a whopping 8.4 and still ends up at wide receiver 44 again? Whoever sent this question in clearly has some problems with Cortland Sutton. Yeah. Who wants to take this one?
I want to take it.
Go ahead.
I want to take it, but I want Dave to speak to the good part of this with Sutton because he loves him so much. I personally loved seeing this question. I've already said on Twitter, I don't understand the massive hype for a guy whose best season was, I think, around wide receiver 26 in points per game. If you were looking at 2019, his ADP right now is around the wide receiver 22 range. There's just so many guys in that range, or even right after, that I'd rather have. But I want Dave and Troy, if you're on that train as well, please talk me into Sutton once and for all. Is Russell Wilson the only factor, or the major overwhelming factor, that's going to bring him to fantasy greatness this season?
I mean, we already saw him in fantasy greatness in 2019.
Wait, Dave. I'm gonna save you for last because you that sounds your boy. So let me start off, and then I'll let you finish it off. But I think yes, we have seen Sutton perform well for fantasy, and he's looked good on the field. But we have to remember his quarterback play has been atrocious. Let's be honest, his quarterback play has been atrocious. He's dealt with injuries, so there are factors that are involved. And yes, Russell Wilson, we can't ignore how significant of an upgrade Russell Wilson is compared to Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. Like, this is a real thing. And then, we're seeing some reports out of camp about that connection, which we already expected. But yes, I believe that Russell Wilson is going to help unlock him. And I think like questions like this make me want to buy it. I'm hoping I find more people who are this low on Sutton. Those are the people I'm targeting in Dynasty, redraft, whatever, in terms of trades, because and is it going to be an exact replica of DK and Tyler Lockett? No, but it doesn't have to be, right? He's going to get the opportunities. Judy, we don't even know, but look, everyone's just assuming that Jerry Judy's going to be good. We have no idea if Jerry Judy's going to be good. We haven't seen it. He has not done anything for fantasy. Let's be honest, right? So if anyone has to prove anything, it's Jerry Judy, honestly. So let's talk about that. So Sutton, I do like Sutton. And then we've even freaking Tim Patrick. We've been seeing hype about Tim Patrick. So I like the whole wide receiver core for fantasy. I like his value. I feel like there's an extreme with Sutton, right? Either he's extremely hyped or, people like Bo, my friend, shout out to Bo, but, I disagree with you strongly on this. I feel like it's either end of the spectrum. There's no like middle ground, but I am high on Sutton this year for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, a year two breakout is impressive. I looked it up. He was wide receiver 17 that year in 2019, so not great, but he finished as wide receiver 17 in his second year in the league, drawing premium coverage from cornerbacks with Drew Lock and Joe Flacco as his quarterbacks. And I mean, when you look at his profile, the guy's just 6'3". He's fast. He excels at contested catches. Second round pick. He's got a huge catch radius. I mean, he has every basically metric that you want to see when you're looking at, a quote unquote alpha receiver. And then last year, he was still drawing targets. He was fifth in the league in unrealized air yards. He had almost 900 unrealized air yards where he was wide open and just not getting the ball. So, I mean, that's what Russell Wilson is known for, is pinpoint accuracy deep downfield. And Sutton's biggest strength is bodying defenders and catching contested catches downfield. So, I mean, it just seems like a match made in heaven. We saw Doug Baldwin do this 8 years ago with Russ Wilson. We saw Tyler Lockett doing it 4 or 5 years ago with Russ Wilson. We saw DK Metcalf doing it over the last 3 years. And Courtland Sutton just seems like he is going to naturally step into that role as the downfield threat. And then when you hear the camp reports, Cecil Lammey at Footballguys, he's in Denver and he's at these practices, and everything he says is that they have just been building that connection and that he is the primary read on a lot of these plays. So I think that the ceiling with Sutton is more intriguing than anything. I mean, there's obviously risk there, but last year was year one coming off the ACL. The year before that, he had 8 targets in like the first half of week 1 before tearing his ACL and ending the season. This is a very good football player that's just kind of had some bad luck, whether it be quarterback play or injuries. And now he's just in a prime position 2 years removed from the ACL with a future Hall of Famer in Russ Wilson. There's risk there, but his ceiling is literally the number one overall wide receiver fantasy, or the number one overall fantasy wide receiver. And I think that's what people are so excited about, is the lore of his ceiling.
You lost me there.
Yeah, Dave, everything you were saying was gospel. I was with you. And then you said that last thing. And I'm like, okay, you're losing me, Dave. But everything else, I agree with you.
I mean, if this guy can maintain his, what did he have in 2019? He had a 26% target share. You're telling me a 26% target share from Russ Wilson isn't enough to finish as the overall wide receiver 1?
Not with the other wide receivers in the league, no. Not with everyone else getting a high target share too. No, I don't see it.
First half of the year Russ versus second half of the year Russ.
Maybe to
Situations
change the
changed. Nobody
location.
thought that Cooper Kupp had a chance of even sniffing back end wide receiver one last year. And look at what he did when he got a quarterback upgrade. I mean, this is an entirely new situation for Cortland Sutton, where he, since college, he has just been one of the most dominant receivers on the field every single time he steps on. And now he finally has, this is what we're hoping for. Like, it's almost like the Allen Robinson, DJ Moore situation. And a lot of these guys end up finally getting that quarterback when they're 28, 29 years old. Well, Cortland Sutton, he's still young. He's still just 24 years old or 26 years old. So, I mean, it's still early enough that he can still peak and have a huge breakout season. And that's where the allure is in the potential breakout. But we'll see. I mean, reports are that Tim Patrick has been stepping up and Albert Okwuegbunam has been killing it, apparently.
I love Tim Patrick late in drafts. That's all I'm saying. I love him taking a shot on him.
And don't forget about KJ Hamler, former second-round pick that could just blow the top off the defense. I mean, there are a lot of weapons here. So that's kind of the fear, is that, this just gets evenly spread out everywhere. But the potential ceiling is that Cortland Sutton is just the guy, and he draws that massive target share from Russ Wilson. This is a fun question. Next one coming in from Andrew Hall, saying Antonio Gibson or Aaron Jones in fantasy. Obviously, Antonio Gibson has the age on his side, but man, he's been trending down pretty hard over these last few months, I should say. Aaron Jones, on the flip side, is looking at a great position with Devontae Adams out of town. So, Victoria, start us off here. Are you taking Antonio Gibson or Aaron Jones?
With everything you just said, right? Let's say everything you just said applied to redraft. Aaron Jones all freaking day. But Dynasty this is a great question in terms of asking about Dynasty. You've already mentioned the age. Gibson's 23 and Jones is 27?
Mm-hmm.
I believe, and Jones is going to pop off this season. We already know that. Gibson's getting a bad rap for Brian Robinson's going to take his job. Everybody gets scared. You know what I want to say in this context too? I love that certain arguments are used for a running back by committee for like certain teams over here, but other teams are like, no, this guy's going to be fine, except it's the same concept you're using for somebody like Gibson and everything on Washington. I still got to say Gibson for Dynasty because I'm not as scared off. Yes, I am Team Gibby, the OG. Love that. What's up, Dave? I gotta go Gibson here, and it's really, really close for me. Honest to goodness, it is really close. But I just think everyone is really overreacting to everything that's happened in the offseason so far for Gibson. Not everything is great news. I get that, but this guy's finished in the top 15 both of his years, rookie and sophomore season. So I can't step my foot off the gas for that.
And he did it last year while dealing with a shin injury, too. I mean, people are quick to forget that he was injured basically all season long. Troy, who are you taking here? Antonio Gibson or Aaron Jones?
So I feel if this was last year, right, it would be easily Antonio Gibson and Dynasty, no questions asked. Aaron Jones, he will be 28 before the end of the season. So we do have to take that into consideration, man. I'm going with Antonio Gibson, and I don't feel good saying it, but I feel like I have to, right? Because the thing about reason people are down on Antonio Gibson, because J.D. McKissick also re-signed, so they're worried about he's going to play third down still. He's going to get all the pass catching. And Brian Robinson, he's a big body running back, and he might steal some goal line work. So those are the two reasons why people are down on Antonio Gibson. But he is only 24 years old. Aaron Jones, there are people who believe that A.J. Dillon's going to take his job. A.J., I don't believe that's going to happen this season, but he's going to be 28 this year. Again, we know what happens when running backs approach 30, and it's a dynasty, right? I have to – running backs they age like dog years. Like that's pretty much how running backs age. So I got to go with Antonio Gibson on this.
All right, I guess I'm on my island over here all by myself going with Aaron Jones apparently, and I know that he's a little bit older, but he's got a pretty small workload throughout his career. I mean, he's not a guy that's been seeing 300 touches between the tackles every single season. I mean, we've been hearing it since he came into the league, #free Aaron Jones. This guy has always been in a committee, so he doesn't have those miles on his legs. And then the way that he plays the game, I mean, he's almost more like a receiver than he is a running back. So I don't expect him to just fall off that age cliff like we see so many running backs do because of how much work he gets outside and the avoidance that he takes on those big hits. Age is definitely a factor, but looking at the situation right now, Aaron Jones is under contract for 2 more years. Aaron Rodgers is under contract for 2 more years. No Devontae Adams in the picture. It's a pretty small sample size, but when you look over the last 3 years when Devontae Adams has missed games, Aaron Jones has averaged more in those games. It's an 8-game sample size, so we got about half the season there. Aaron Jones has averaged more in those 8 games than Cooper Kupp did last year. I mean, he has just been the offense when Devontae Adams isn't around. So I expect it to get spread out a little bit more this year with Allen Lazard, Christian Watson, Robert Tonyan, and some of the other guys. I mean, trying to plan for a whole season for that sort of workload for Aaron Jones is going to be tough, but he's going to see a lot of work these next 2 years as Aaron Rodgers pushes his way towards hopefully another championship, at least in his mind. Looking at the football guys rankings though, I mean, there's no clear decision here. It is they are back to back in dynasty rankings on football guys at 18 and 19. So this is a good question.
It's a great question. Again, I feel like if you want to take Aaron Jones, I'm not going to hate you for it. Again, it's a toss-up for me for different reasons.
Yeah, and I mean, it's kind of, I don't want to put it this way because we don't know if Antonio Gibson could get so much better, but do you want 3 or 4 years of a low-end RB1, or do you want 2 years of a guy who has elite RB1 potential? So I think a lot of it kind of has to do with your team situation. You know, if you really need an anchor running back and you need Aaron Jones, go ahead and keep him. But if you've got, Jonathan Taylor or Javonte Williams or one of these stud running backs, and you need a solid RB2, Antonio Gibson might be better for the long haul, but in most situations, I'm probably going to be leaning towards Aaron Jones here.
Dave, if you're drafting today a startup, would you take Aaron Jones over Gibson?
I would take a wide receiver. I don't take when I'm in startups. I don't even look at running backs for like the first 6 or 8 rounds.
All right, fine.
I will say, just very off topic, but I did get Najee at 210. I normally go for that same philosophy, Dave, but you gotta go with value sometimes. I don't know. He slipped way farther, so I had to go with the value.
We'll make exceptions. Yeah, I was in a startup. Man, I think you were in this one back in March where I got Travis Etienne in the 6th round, and I was just like, I'm not passing on Travis Etienne here. I was in another startup about 2 months ago, and it was a bunch of Jets haters apparently because Breece Hall slipped to the 4th, and I was like, well, I'm not gonna take Breece Hall here. I mean, every once in a while you gotta make an exception. So I mean, if Aaron Jones and Antonio Gibson are both staring at me in like the 8th round, I'd probably take Aaron Jones. But
they're going early in the 8th, but I feel you.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, they'd have to really slide before I'd start looking at him in a startup. Next question comes in from our friend Ahan, and he says, give me one good reason to draft Gabriel Davis over Rashod Bateman. Also, why would I draft Tyler Lockett over literally any first-round wide receiver? So we got 2 here. We're comparing Gabriel Davis to Rashod Bateman, and we're comparing Tyler Lockett to a first-round wide receiver. Victoria, start us off. I'm not sure how you feel about Gabe Davis. Are you taking Gabe Davis or Rashod Bateman?
The Gabe hype, we have been talking about it all off season. There's a lot of relentless analysts just driving this man's ADP since the beginning of probably March or April. It is getting out of hand. I was going to make a joke and say my one good reason is the Kansas City playoff game, but in reality, a reason going against the grain on Bateman, the Ravens have been top 2 or 3 in rushing attempts essentially since 1960 something. Probably as long as Greg Roman's been around and been alive, right? It's closer for me than probably for you guys. And honestly, I was looking into a lot of stats for Gabe, and it's, of course, I've got a little bit of homer bias being a Bills fan. I know he was trusted in those last 6 or 7 weeks of last season over every other receiver not named Diggs. And I looked this up too. I thought this was interesting. From weeks 13 to 17, he was the wide receiver 17 in PPR points per game with minimum 3 games played. So I was being generous here, giving that because, availability is important too. I could have went, 5 or 4 games. He had almost 15 points per game on average. DK Metcalf, I know they had a rough last second half of the season. He had the same exact amount of points for PPR in that time range. So I don't think this Football Guys is showing his ADP of wide receiver 28. I don't think it's massively crazy taking that into context. So, but if they were staring me down, I would just have a really hard time, I think, taking Gabe over Bateman. I'm not going to lie too. I'm in a lot of homer redraft leagues. He's probably going to be off the board because Bills fans are freaking crazy. So I'm probably going to have to take Bateman in a lot of mine. Do you want to stick on this question or you want me to answer?
And the one thing I want to put, what did you say his ADP was?
Football Guys is showing wide receiver 28 overall. I know it's lower, a tad bit lower on underdog alone,
So,
but you know.
so that's what, and you know, I had a talk with Jeff Bell about this today. I noticed it myself. For whatever reason, his ADP is substantially higher than his expert rankings are wherever you look, whether it's Football Guys,
Yes.
Fantasy Pros. It's like the entire industry is down on him. But then when people go out and draft, everybody's crazy bullish on him. I mean, I'm looking at our rankings right now. Football Guys expert consensus rankings, he's wide receiver 39. And like at
Yes.
wide receiver 39, yeah, I would draft Gabe Davis at wide receiver 39. But the problem is some schmuck is always drafting him as wide receiver 24, and I never get a chance to. And it makes it so hard. So yeah, I mean, just about any rankings that you look at from any fantasy analyst is going to have Rashod Bateman well above Gabriel Davis. But then for whatever reason, you hit a draft and Gabe Davis flies off the board beforehand. Troy, do you have anything to add to the Gabe Davis, Rashod Bateman, or do you want to talk about Lockett for a bit?
I'll talk about Lockett. So first round wide receiver. Is this in context to like people who were just drafted in the first round, like this past draft?
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
And
Okay.
I, you know, if we're talking redraft, I think that you gotta obviously Jameson Williams. He's probably way below Tyler Lockett, so we'll scrap him. Traylon Burks, you know, he's having his issues with breathing in camp, but I think that's a little bit overblown. Really, I mean, Jahan Dotson is probably the only first round receiver that's going behind Lockett, right?
Yeah, so I'm thinking to myself, like, so Garrett Wilson. Garrett Wilson has the talent. We don't know what the rapport is going to be with him and Zach Wilson. We're assuming he's going to be good, but I feel like Tyler. And if the problem is, look, it's nothing against Tyler Lockett. It's just we have his QB situation is absolutely disgusting. If they somehow get maybe like a Jimmy G, if they even got a Jimmy G somehow, let's say the 49ers release him, he ends up being a Seahawk. Maybe I would like Tyler Lockett, but I probably wouldn't. I probably would like. So I like the rookies better than Tyler Lockett just because his quarterback situation is, we don't know it. It's gross right now. So again, I could eat my words. Tyler Lockett is that dude. So maybe he finds a way to, you know, still perform despite the QB. But as of right now, I like guys like, you know, Garrett Wilson, Drake London better right now.
Yeah, man, I feel like I've just been fighting a losing battle for years trying to pump up Tyler Lockett. Like nobody wants to hear it. Every single offseason, I'm the guy that's like, go out and draft Tyler Lockett. Everyone calls me an idiot, and then the guy just puts up another wide receiver one finish. I mean, that's what this guy does consistently, and it's gross.
But he's had Russell Wilson though, and like now we talking about Drew Lock and Geno Smith. Like,
so here's the thing: I'm not expecting. You know, we've seen him consistently at that wide receiver one, wide receiver two bubble at the end of the season, and I'm not expecting that at all. But I think a lot of this, first of all, has to do with who do you think is going to be the quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks? It seems like everybody, because you know I was tweeting a lot about Tyler Lockett today, and everybody seems to think that Drew Lock is going to be the quarterback. And I think it's going to be Geno Smith.
He's hope been there it is.
Yeah, Geno Smith's been there for a couple of years. He looked decent last year when he stepped in. And if it is Geno Smith, that bodes very well for Tyler Lockett. Geno Smith threw 8 targets a game to Tyler Lockett. Russell Wilson threw 7 a game. So obviously we're looking at less efficient targets, less accurate targets. Say whatever you want to say, but he's going to get a ton of volume for Geno Smith. Geno Smith doesn't have that arm strength to chuck it downfield to DK Metcalf. So Tyler Lockett right now getting drafted as a wide receiver 46. If he's getting 8 targets a game, I don't care who it's coming from. You can throw my grandma out there, and if she throws the Tyler Lockett 8 times a game, I'm still going to be drafting him. He is almost guaranteed to surpass his wide receiver 46 ADP, and that's the issue I have right now. Is we should be pushing him down draft boards a little bit for losing Russell Wilson. But all the way to wide receiver 46?
But here's the thing, though. The question is, would you prefer him over a first round? So like him or Drake London? Who would you prefer?
I'm taking Drake London there.
Okay, there we go.
I'm taking Drake London, and I'm taking Chris Olave, and I'm taking Traylon Burks. Jahan Dotson, no. Jameson Williams, no.
Wilson?
And then Garrett Wilson. I mean, he's so talented.
I don't think I would.
And Garrett Wilson, I love him as a long-term play. I just don't think with Breece Hall, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, CJ Uzomah now. I mean, you should. I was listening to Sig's show earlier today, and he said that Corey Davis is still the Jets wide receiver 1.
No, Sig.
So it's. But there are. I hate the lot of mouths to feed because there are some quarterbacks that can feed a lot of mouths, and that's just a cliche that gets overused. But I don't think Zach Wilson's going to be cooking enough to feed all those mouths. That's the problem that I have.
I'm sorry. Why is Sky Moore, wide receiver 51 in ADP.
Sky
I mean,
Moore.
it's CEH 2.0. Like any rookie
Oh,
with a
gosh.
little modicum of talent lands in Kansas City, and the hype train just loses its brakes and flies down the hill. I mean, we've seen this happen time and time again. Sky Moore is a very talented player, and the thing is, he was kind of like everybody's like deep sleeper darling before the draft, and then he landed in Kansas City, and now the hype is just out of control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, on to the next question here. This one comes in from Christian Williams, new Football Guys staffer. Welcome to the
Yee.
team, Christian. And he is
Welcome,
saying, will
Christian.
Darnell Mooney finish as a wide receiver 2 or better? Top 24. Right now, his ADP. Let me see if I can find this real quickly. I know it's not top
I
24.
think it's 26.
Yep. Wide receiver 26 going, looks like the end of the 5th round. Victoria, start us off. Darnell Mooney, is he going to finish inside the top 24?
End of the 5th. My gosh. For some reason that feels like a value. So I've seen two camps on Twitter for the most part this year. You're either saying I'm all in on Mooney. He's going to be wide receiver 1. He's going to get 140, 150 targets. Mr. Necessary is what I would like to call him, right? And then you see the other side of the hand that people are like, I'm not drafting anybody from the Bears. Their offense is going to be horrible. They're not going to blah, blah, blah. So you're either on one camp or the other. And I don't like the argument of only focusing on players that are in good offenses or good roles in their offenses, because then you're going to miss out on a James Robinson. I mean, we could list a million guys
Christian
that
McCaffrey.
exactly on players on teams that are just not great offensively, but they get the work. This is a guy I am in on 100%. I think he has all the potential to finish as a wide receiver 2 or better. He had a wide receiver 27 overall finish last year. Why not? He has another year to build more chemistry. He doesn't have the Justin Fields just like in and out with Andy Dalton last year. I'm not going to be taking him as my wide receiver 1, if I'm going running back heavy or anything like that, but I'm very comfortable, very happy if he's slotting into my wide receiver 2 role in any draft.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, he's probably going to see 140 targets. I mean, he saw 140 targets last year. Now there's no Jimmy Graham, there's no Allen Robinson. They were replaced with Velus Jones and Byron Pringle and Equanimous St. Brown. I don't think that those are, more talented players than the talent that was lost. So you got to almost project an increase in volume, and any receiver that's going to see more than 140 targets is almost guaranteed to finish inside the top 40. And the other thing, people talk about how bad the Bears offense is, but guess what? Bad offenses play from behind and have to throw the ball a lot. Garbage time still counts in fantasy. And I think that there's going to be a lot of garbage time to go around in Chicago. Troy, I see you nodding your head here. Are you in the camp that Darnell Mooney finishes top 24?
Absolutely. I almost feel like I would say it's guaranteed. If I had to guarantee something, I say it's Darnell Mooney finishes as a wide receiver 2. Wide receiver 1's getting better. No, wide receiver 1's getting too cute. But wide receiver 2, yeah, I feel like that's a lot. It's more just like what tier of wide receiver 2? I'll say mid wide receiver 2. That's where I see him. But yeah, just like you said, it's more volume play. I think he's talented as well. And he's definitely the most talented wide receiver on the team, I feel like, by far. So yeah, I feel like wide receiver 2 is a lot.
Yeah, and I mean, he's discount Brandon Cooks. Brandon Cooks right now, we've got him rated as wide receiver 16. We got Darnell Mooney ranked as wide receiver 26. Pretty much the same guy, right? I mean, just a guy that's going to see a ton of volume on a subpar offense. Yeah, I think Mooney's a pretty safe bet. I don't think he's got any crazy high ceiling, but I think finishing in the top 24 is pretty good. Nick Scripp is asking us if you had to put money on Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, or Chris Olave being the best New Orleans fantasy player to have, could be ADP or total points, who would it be and why? Troy, Thomas, Landry, Olave. Who are you putting your money on this year?
I don't trust Michael Thomas. I'm sorry. Like he's I don't know if he's gonna play. God knows what. I've been waiting for 2 seasons, Mike. So I'm sorry. You're not in this conversation.
Man got personally. The bag and then disappeared.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with you. Okay, so it's Jarvis Landry or Chris Olave. I think I'm gonna go for year 1. I like Landry, man. I feel like ADP wise, I'm doing it based off ADP. I feel like he's gonna bring the best return, bang for your buck, right? I feel like he's going so late. I feel like You bring in Jarvis Landry because, again, I don't know what's going on with Mike Thomas. I believe that Landry, if Mike Thomas doesn't play, he's going to fit more of that role. And look, he's an underrated wide receiver, right? Landry is still a good football player. He's still going to get targets. He's still going to make plays. He's still going to command receptions. I don't know how the chemistry is going to look between him and Jameis Winston, but you bring Jarvis Landry to help, your team win football games. I believe he's reliable. And again, Chris Olave obviously is better long-term wide receiver. I'm not going to question that, but I just don't, we've seen, I think also in the past, we've seen rookie wide receivers just make a significant impact no matter what. And it's been crazy historic, right? Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. I don't think every single rookie wide receiver is going to do that. And I think Chris Olave, he's going to have a fine season, I think there's a better chance that Chris Olave maybe scores more total points than Jarvis Landry, but I believe where Jarvis Landry is going in drafts, I got to look up his ADP, but I just think that you're going to get such a bang for your buck because of that. While you're doing it, okay, Jarvis Landry is wide receiver 55. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that is so cheap that I'll take my chances on him.
Yeah, there have been some reports too that he just hasn't been himself. I mean, this guy's been an Iron Man, like never missed a game throughout his career. And I think his age and the abuse that he's taking those hits across the middle of the field, I think it might finally be catching up to him. So I'm with you.
It's still early. It's still early.
It is, yeah. But I'm with you. I mean, I think Chris Olave, I think that he's just as pro ready as any wide receiver in this league. I think he's going to step in and make an immediate impact. Victoria, who are you going with here?
I'm with you guys. I mean, as soon as that came out of Troy's mouth first, like, Michael Thomas, you're dead to me. J. Cole, he once said, "Fool me one time, shame on you. Fool me two times. You fool me three times. You know the rest." We can't say those words on this here podcast. Thank you, Joe. If there's videos going around that he's still taking it slow in his rehab, they don't know when he's coming back, how he's recovering. He's made significant progress. What is going on? I'm very scared. I cannot even look in Michael Thomas's direction. Landry is always underrated for PPR. He's like a Beasley or a Crowder. I see a world where he's the beneficiary, but we can't rule out if Kamara's coming back. If he's not suspended, obviously this is a very murky situation as things still stand. But if he does come back, last year Marquez Callaway was the Saints wide receiver one. Was he ever fantasy relevant to us? We were hoping for it
once.
But honestly, I'm like, this still feels gross to me, even if I am picking between Landry or Olave. I put my money on Landry only because of the rookie, I don't know, tough to crack at some points. I know these last couple of years we've been seeing rookies have incredible seasons, and that was not the norm before. So I'm not ruling it out for Olave at all, but I think I'd have to lean Landry here.
Yeah, I mean, this could be one of those teams, and we didn't even talk about. I know he changed his name now. Is it Deontay Hardy or what's he going by? I know he changed his name, but Traquan Smith. I mean, there's a lot. There's no standout clear-cut wide receiver one. So this could be one of those frustrating teams where the targets are kind of evenly distributed across 4 or 5 guys. There could be some value here where one of these guys really does pop, but more likely than not, Jameis Winston spreads the ball around and just makes it a pretty frustrating passing game altogether. Next question comes in from Kevin S., and he's saying, PPR, Kamara or Mixon? We're going to assume that this is redraft since it's that time of the year. And I mean, for the sake of conversation, we've got to assume that Kamara isn't getting suspended, but Kamara right now is on my do not draft list.
Yeah.
I've talked to some different people that, know more about law than I do. And there's a realistic chance that Kamara could be in jail for this entire season. I mean, there is a minimum 1-year jail sentence if he's found guilty for what he's being accused of. So he's not somebody that I have any interest in, but for the sake of conversation, let's say the Kamara is off scot-free playing 17 games, Kamara or Mixon. Troy, start us off here.
Kamara. I feel like redraft, look, Kamara, he's top 5 to me. If he's healthy, playing all season, not suspended, in full PPR, give me Kamara.
Wow, I'm surprised by this answer. I think
look what this man has done consistently every season. Yes, Joe Mixon had a really good season last year, but let's not. I think people are forgetting how Kamara's that freaking dude, man. Again, especially look, we have no idea what's going on with Mike Thomas, but look, if Mike Thomas is God knows what's going on with him. But regardless, we know Kamara's going to get consistent targets. Joe Mixon, like, he's going to get the opportunities. He might get touchdowns, but we know that he's not a PPR machine because, look, and he's just never been the guy to get a lot of targets. And we know Kamara's all about targets, and he gets the touchdown. So give me Kamara on this.
And yeah, in a perfect world, if we knew he was coming back playing the whole season, yes. But I have to bake in that risk. Dave's probably going to be surprised with my answer because I've been not a Mixon hater, but more like I'm not mad, I'm disappointed. I'm a person with Mixon, but I think I'd take Mixon here. It's gross to say that out loud, but yeah, I have to bake in that risk factor. So
yeah,
but there is no risk though. Well, in this scenario, was he's not getting suspended. So if he's not getting suspended,
that was my answer. I'd take him if we knew he's playing the full season. Yes, I go Kamara.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at too. If Kamara is somehow cleared and they say that he avoids suspension, I think Kamara is a pretty obvious answer here. But right now, Mixon's getting drafted at the 1-2 turn, and Kamara is getting drafted in the 2-3 turn. But I'm not even taking him unless he slides into like the 4th or the 5th. There's just way too much risk there to be spending a late 2nd round pick on a guy that might not play at all this season. So I'm completely off on Kamara until we can get a little bit more clarity on this situation. We got another question in from Kevin, though, and he says PPR non-tight end premium, so volume doesn't matter quite as much here. We're just looking at regular scoring. Darren Waller or George Kittle? And this is another tough one because obviously the big question here is, are we projecting injuries or are we just assuming that both guys are going to play all 17 games? Because in a vacuum, if both guys are playing 17 games, I think Kittle's the obvious answer here. But, I mean, this man just cannot stay on the field. Victoria, who are you taking?
I was thinking the same exact thing, Dave. I'm not going to lie and say that his injury history it's beginning to scare me 100%. I'd still take Kittle here. I think with Devontae Adams being traded to the Raiders, he's going to be the de facto target hog in Vegas now. He's got, obviously, the college connection with Derek Carr as his quarterback. I'd take Kittle here. It's very, very, very close, but that fall off with Waller last year was a little bit scary.
And I think some of that was injury related. I mean, Don't forget that this dude came out in week 1 and commanded 19 targets in prime time. I mean, Waller was my tight end 1 last year.
Victory laps after week 1.
Yes. And then it was all downhill from there. I mean, I'm going with Kittle here, even with the injury risk. And really, I've got these two guys in the same tier. Gun to my head, though, I'm taking Kittle, but really what I do in this situation, because I have them in the same tier and because they're getting drafted so close in ADP, I'll take whichever one drops. I don't want to reach for either of these guys, but if somebody takes Kittle, I'll take Waller. And if somebody takes Waller, I'll take Kittle. I'm just going to take the cheaper option out of the two because you're really splitting hairs.
Yeah, Kittle, easy.
All right. Only got a couple questions left, and then we'll try to get to the chat here. We got a question coming in from Sam saying, are you taking Allen Lazard or the Lizard King?
Dave, don't even talk about this one. Victoria, you go.
The Lizard King, for anybody unfamiliar, is Sammy Watkins.
Week 1, Sammy Watkins. Everybody's I'm going to take a flyer on Sammy. No, Dave's convinced me on Lazard. I'm not going to be drafting him, a wide receiver 20 or better. But yeah, Dave's got me on the Lazard hype train here, so
sorry. I say that if you're playing DFS, maybe go Sammy Watkins. But look, this man has been doing it for his whole career, pretty much. But no, give me Lazard week 1 and rest of the season. But yeah, I would not be surprised if Sammy Watkins has a big week 1 because he always does.
I wish I had the numbers off the top of my head. I looked it up recently, and we know that he's known for having big week 1s, but it's like 21 or 22 points per game that he's averaging over week 1s. I mean, it is just insane. But I mean, the most recent report that I read about Sammy Watkins is that he might not even make the final roster. So I mean, he got a very small contract.
It's possible.
I didn't see that. Wow.
Yeah, that was a few weeks ago, and I mean, that it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, we know Aaron Rodgers is a complicated fella, and he really likes guys that he has trust with. I mean, 2 years ago, they could have brought in Curtis Samuel or Chris Godwin or all these big-time free agents, and what did they do? Rather than signing a young, talented free agent off the street, they traded for Randall Cobb. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is just such a peculiar, weird guy when it comes to who he'll trust and who he'll throw to. I mean, he almost left the team. He almost retired because they traded away Jake Kumaro. Jake Kumaro had like 6 career receptions up to that point, and he almost left the team because they traded away Jake Kumaro.
Don't talk about touchdown Jesus in that light, okay? I respect the man.
In preseason.
Yeah, he's just East Coast Jesper Horsted.
Oh my gosh.
All right, next question comes in from Jorge Martin. He goes, "Oh, another Gronk question. After the Gronk retirement, what tight end do you like more, Cameron Brate or Cade Otton?" Cade Otton is a rookie. I mean, I think you got to go Brate here.
Gotta go Brate.
All right, last question, and then we're going to go to the chat. So start firing off those questions. I saw a few come in already, and we will warp speed our way through those in the final 8 minutes. Another question from Christian. With the reports that Rashod Penny will be the lead back in Seattle and Ken Walker's minimal pass catching work, how are you viewing that backfield? Because this is a weird one right now. All reports are pointing to Rashod Penny, but then you look at ADP, and Ken Walker is getting drafted 4 or 5 rounds before Penny. So,
it's
yeah, I mean,
crazy.
Yeah, start us off. Who wants to take this one?
You go.
I'm sorry. Rashod Penny's ADP value is just wild to me. Still, the fact that it hasn't really moved very much, even after these reports are coming out. I'm sure a little bit of bias is playing into this from people getting hurt year after year, believing in this man, and seeing as he just had his first good showing in a season without a significant injury last year. But running back 35, are you kidding me? Tony Pollard is going before Rashod Penny right now. What are we doing here? And listen, why are we calling this man Ken? I really just want to put that out there.
No, because he said in an interview that he prefers to be called Ken. That's why. Oh. Even though Kenneth is better, but that's what he wants to be called. So
Ken makes me like Kenneth. I'm like, Kenneth, what up, brother? Ken, I'm like, nah, give me Penny.
That's terrible. It dropped in your rankings.
He immediately dropped as soon as that came out. I don't know. Ken is like my accountant. Kenneth is like some guy with a smooth, like cool mustache. You know what I mean? Like oh goodness gracious. I just the disparity in ADP, the fact he's still going before Penny. Of course we have the bias with the injury with Penny, but I gotta take Penny all day. That ADP at running back 35 is just crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Yeah, this is a pretty easy one for me. I'm going Penny very, very easily.
Yeah,
I'm going Penny too. I'm not a Penny guy, but I feel like it's just maybe Ken Walker. Like he's not gonna give him the job. He has to earn it. Maybe earns it towards the back half of the season, but beginning of the season, I'm going Penny.
Penny over Kenny, baby.
Thank you, Mr. Scampers.
All right, to the chat, and I am trying. Oh, here's a good one. This comes in from Freddie. How many quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends are we drafting on Underdog? This is a good question because James and I did our show yesterday, and we did 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends, and people hate that. Like if you draft 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends, you are going to get clowned. But the way it worked out with us in the 16th round, we got Nico Collins. And then in the 17th and 18th round, we're looking at the turn, and Brevin Jordan and Davis Mills were there. And we're like, sure, why not do a disgusting Houston stack to close out this draft? So we did that. Ideally, you want 2 quarterbacks, 2 quarterbacks and 2 tight ends. If I'm being honest, though, I think people care way too much about this. Just go draft good players. Get good players on your team that are going to draft too much. Don't worry about stacks. Don't worry about week 17 correlations. Don't worry about, having the perfect amount of numbers. Just go get players that score points. That's how you win.
I would say the stacks are definitely a little bit overrated. People put too much emphasis on stacks and get like inferiority. But I would say I get 7 wide receivers. Normally I go like 7 wide receivers because usually it's like a 3 wide receiver lineup. So I get like 7 to 8 wide receivers. I'm 2 quarterbacks, 2 tight ends, 2 quarterbacks for me, like 7 wide receivers, running backs. I don't know. That'll vary. I mean, whatever's left, 4 or 5. Yeah.
I mean, I've done some where I only have 3 running backs. I think a lot of it just depends how you draft. I did a draft very recently where I had Chris McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, and Breece Hall. And I was like, my team, if one of these guys gets hurt, my season's done for anyway. So what's the point of drafting more running backs? I mean, when I load up on running backs, that's usually because I've got 1 anchor or I'm just punting running backs completely. And that's when I'll draft 5, 6, 7 running backs because I'm hoping 1 could hit. But if I'm going robust running back right off the jump, I'm just going to draft 3 and then just hope that they stay healthy or I just lose that league completely.
Good strategy.
Here's a fun question from Mr. Showtime. Any chance the Bucks sign Julio? Ooh, Julio is a tight end? Could it finally be time? Is it that point in his career where he switches to tight end? I mean, he's got the size for it.
I think we got to be done with Julio. I think the experiment is over. It's sad. I'll mourn it always. He's one of the greats, but even if they do, I'm not even looking at this.
I think Julio could still play. I just don't have any interest in him. I mean, they could sign him, sure, but I'm not drafting him regardless.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some talks that he should switch to tight end for the end of his career. And I mean, he might not be able to hold up for a full 17 games with an 80% snap share, but playing situationally at the goal line, I mean, that's what Gronk did best, was just pull down those tough touchdowns. And why not just put Julio right in that role and just let him? I mean, I don't think that he could hold up, like I said, for a full season, but a couple snaps here and there, catching some touchdowns, I could see it. Why not? All right. This chat is tough today. There's a lot going on in the chat. It's really tough to find questions through all the other stuff. Yeah, thank you so much. This is a really fun chat. You guys don't realize this, but after the show, we always go through and read the chat comments and get a good laugh out of them.
So you better say some nice stuff about me.
Here, Mr. Scampers is asking us, Darnell Mooney or Amon-Ra St. Brown? Mooney for me, very easily.
Mooney.
Yeah, we're looking at the wide receiver 1 on a bad team or the wide receiver 3 on a bad team. I'll take the wide receiver 1.
Hey, leave Amon alone.
Let's see what else we got here. Who do you think finishes as the Chiefs wide receiver 1? What do you think their fantasy finish will be? So we got Juju, we got Sky Moore, we got Marquez Valdez-Scantling. Realistically, the wide receiver 1 is going to be Travis Kelce, but who is the actual wide receiver 1 going to be? I'm putting my money on Juju.
Yeah.
Juju wide receiver 19. That's
like
that.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm bold prediction. I'm just throwing it out.
I like it. Yeah, I can see Juju finishing in the teens. I like it.
Oof.
Yeah, it's still wide receiver 2, so I'm like, it's not that crazy to me.
Here's a quick one. What's the most interesting backfield so far? Troy, I'm giving it to your Miami Dolphins.
I was gonna say
no idea what to make of this team.
I was gonna say Dolphins. Like, you read my mind, Garen. I'm a fan, but like, again, is Chase Edmonds? I think Chase Edmonds is a running back 1, but if Mostert looks anything like he has in the past and he's explosive, maybe he takes the top. Freaking Sony Michel, he had some moments with the Rams. Who knows? Like, I don't expect him to be the running back 1, but and then they got I keep mispronouncing his name, Zaquandre White, the undrafted free agent. He's getting a little bit of hype from Mike McDaniel this offseason. He's not going to be the running back 1, but the fact that he's going to make the roster is shocking to me. Myles Gaskin and Salvin Ahmed, their time seems to be running out. So we'll see what happens with them.
Any backfields jumping out to you, Vic?
I was going to say the same thing. I don't know what the heck's going on over there.
Maybe the Bills, because I'm curious about. I'm assuming it's going to be. Yeah, I'm assuming it's going to be Devin Singletary first, second down, James Cook third down. Does he get worked in the first and second? Who knows? That dynamic's a little interesting too. It's this one's gross. Houston Texans. Yeah. I have no idea what's happening.
Damian Pierce, Marlon Mack, Rex Burkhead.
Who's that's gross, but
Atlanta's intriguing too. I know we're running that time.
No, I think that's even worse gross, but yeah.
One last question here. Is it crazy to want Zach Ertz as tight end 6 to start the season? Obviously, after the big 5 tight ends, but before Hockenson, Schultz, and Goddard? No, it's not crazy in my opinion. From the time he joined the Arizona Cardinals until the end of the season, he was 4th in targets and 4th in fantasy scoring. No reason to think that he doesn't keep that pace up. So I'm all in back on the Zach Ertz train. How about you guys?
Yes.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We are running out of time here. Missed a few questions, but tune in next week. And what we'll do is any question that we didn't get to this evening, we will start off next week's show with. I'm Dave Kluge. You can find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge. Be sure to follow Victoria and Troy as well. If you haven't already, subscribe at youtube.com/footballguys, and we'll see you next week.